Oh boy. I don't even know what I'm going to say about this movie. I haven't prepped for this video in any way, shape, or form, but I did prep to say hi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today we are going to be talking about the newest neon horror movie, Longlegs, starring and produced by Nicolas Cage. Now, here's the thing. I feel like there was so much hype about this movie, good or bad. I've heard mainly good, either 4 or 5 stars, 4.5, 5-star range. So I had very high expectations going into this movie, which could be a problem. I do appreciate watching movie reviews for movies before I see them. I think I'm gonna reserve that now for watching movie reviews after I've seen the movie, so I just go in completely blind. So for this one, I understood the concept. It's a detective who gets assigned a serial killer case. She's trying to figure out the serial killer, right? Solve this mystery. Nothing too crazy for the plot. I will say I do like where it went. I just think we missed a couple steps. So, like I said, this is starring and produced by Nicolas Cage and also distributed by Neon, which did Immaculate earlier this year, which I love. However, I think maybe a little bit of the thoughts I had going in my head before I saw this movie tainted this a little bit, because I've been seeing so many trailers and reviews on YouTube saying that this is the scariest movie of the year, and I personally did not feel that way at all. What this movie does really well is create a sense of like dread and uncomfortableness. I don't know, it's kind of like an itch that never gets scratched. That's what this movie kind of feels like for me. Don't get me wrong, I did love it, and I will go into my score a little bit later, but for me personally, I think when I heard scariest movie of the year, maybe I was thinking, this is just how my brain works, I was thinking maybe spooky images, scary images, whatever. Because to me, the scariest movie of the year of 2024 was Late Night with the Devil. Now, that movie has it all, where it's like there's a little bit left to the imagination, but they still show scary images and faces, right? So you get a little bit of everything in that movie. The two different sides of the spectrum of what's scary and what's not scary. Again, what's scary and not scary is very subjective. With this movie, if you do plan on seeing it and have not seen it yet, you don't need to worry about there being scary faces and images, because there really isn't. I mean, Nicolas Cage in this movie looks kind of weird, and maybe it's just me being a movie commentator now, because I feel like that really changed how I watch movies, because now when I watch movies, go to the theaters, I, one, kind of want to talk during the movies, which I don't. I really restrain myself. It's very difficult, but I restrain myself from talking as much as I possibly can. But two, I just find the humor in a lot of the supposed to be really scary, unsettling, makes you uncomfortable scenes, right? I can tell which scenes were supposed to be very unsettling, deeply unsettling. And for most of them, they did get me. Most of the scenes with Nicolas Cage, though, that are supposed to be unsettling, like, he's just funny. I'm sorry. I apologize, but he's just a funny man. And I can't unsee that it's Nicolas Cage playing this serial killer, because it's just, it doesn't look like him, but the serial killer acts like Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean? Like, if Nicolas Cage and the serial killer lived in the same world, the serial killer would act like Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean? So anyways, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Out of 10, I gave this an 8 out of 10. When I put it in on letterboxd, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. Very good movie. I think what they wanted to accomplish, they did. They did it very well. But for me, what they kind of emphasized on in the movie is lingering shots, kind of uncomfortable framing where someone's over here and this whole space is empty and you think something's gonna happen over there, right? They play with your fear, your imagination. Movies that play on your imagination, like, oh, what you imagine is probably way scarier. Those movies don't really work for me, to be completely honest, because I think for me, it would be scarier. So, like, I'm gonna compare this to Blair Witch Project. Okay, Blair Witch Project does a great job of this, and it's a movie that I like, all right? Blair Witch Project, I think I gave that like a 10 out of 10 because that was one of the first movies for this channel that like genuinely scared me. But most things that scare me, most movies that scare me is actually scary faces and scary imagery, right? When you're playing on the viewer's imagination and that's what scares them, it doesn't work for me. So with Blair Witch Project, they really play on that. So I didn't know if that movie was going to be scary because I heard you don't actually see anything scary in Blair Witch Project. You don't see any scary faces, no monsters, no demons, whatever. And that is true. You do not see that stuff in that movie, but I think instead of framing it a weird way where it's like this, where it's like that, big empty space, whatever, or it's just like someone's in the center, it's completely dark behind them. Besides that, the way that they do it is, one, it just feels very real. Obviously, the found footage aspect of it makes it scarier for me because it feels like it could happen in real life. It's a real person, real people are dealing with this problem, this actually happened. And on top of that, makes it like more chaotic because it's not professionally shot. It's not perfectly framed, so your eyes have to fixate on the looming darkness or anything like that. A lot of it is, you know, the person and they're just there and they're like, wait, I think I hear something. And it's quiet and you're waiting for something, right? Now, with Longlegs, when they frame it a certain way to where there's like a looming darkness behind them and someone's just like, uh-huh, yeah, sure. And it's just like, you can see this darkness behind them and you don't really see anything there, then it's kind of like, well, what's the point? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I will say, like, it did make me feel like, oh my gosh, like, what if there is something back there? But again, I think that was maybe just my anticipation going in because of all the things I heard of beforehand, because I heard scariest movie of the year, so I was like, okay, if there's a looming darkness behind our main character, maybe something's gonna pop up and that's what's scary. That's why people are saying scariest movie of the year. But none of that really happens. I feel like nothing really happens until maybe like the very end of the movie and things kind of pop off. I will say it does have kind of, I will use it very loosely, I'll use that term very loosely, kind of a similar feel with Barbarian. Now with Barbarian, you didn't know what you were gonna get out of it. You didn't know where it was going. You didn't know it was gonna go the way that it did, but that's what made it so good, right? And people kind of say with this one, like, where it goes, you do not expect it to go that way. Like, it kind of goes off the rails. And I agree with that, but also not really, because for me personally, it wasn't that big of a surprise. Where the movie went, you know, what this kind of all tied into being, didn't really surprise me too well. There was one aspect that surprised me, I won't say what it was, but there was one aspect that kind of surprised me. But again, I feel like everybody in this movie is kind of weird, so I didn't really look too much into any of the people. I feel like it's very different from Barbarian because with that movie, it was like a complete 180 of where it started. It wasn't even close to how the movie was advertised. And I hear a lot of people really hyping up the advertising of this movie. Maybe not the trailers, but just like the advertising. I can't really say anything to that because I just have YouTube and I just get the trailers for that. It does show a lot in the trailers, I will say, in the advertising. And I do appreciate that they want to expand on this because this movie does get pretty complicated. So here's my gripe with this movie. Where it goes makes it so much more complicated. It makes the lore so complicated because I have so many questions. And the thing is maybe the answer is lying in this good advertising. So their website, they kind of expand on the world a little bit and they provide a little more context to stuff, interviews, things like that. I'm like, I don't want to have to watch a movie and then do research afterwards to figure out what just happened. I get maybe it's supposed to be like a little fun and cheeky because you're kind of like the main character in this movie who's also doing research, trying to figure everything out, and you're just playing that role as well in real life. For me personally, I don't want to do that though. I don't want to be a detective. And it was kind of boring. Like, I hate watching movies and it's just like, let's try to figure out what happened. This is so similar to Silence of the Lambs. So similar. Both good movies. I will say Silence of the Lambs is better than this movie. The people in Silence of the Lambs are a little more personable, I guess. The really only person that had a personality in this movie was Longlegs, the serial killer, Nicolas Cage. So kind of a letdown, but 8 out of 10. Not a bad score because I do appreciate a lot of aspects of this movie taking place in the 90s. I thought Nicolas Cage was great. I thought it was decently spooky. It's definitely an eerie movie, definitely unsettling, but not disturbing, not scary in any way, in my opinion, at least for me. Obviously, I docked it down 2 points because it was so confusing when they kind of introduced certain things, I guess I'll say, and I feel like there's still no answers for it. That's just me. I just don't want to do extra research on this movie. Like, I want to watch it, maybe rewatching it, but it's like, I don't know if I want to spend money to watch this movie again. Low key. With that said and done, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons, and especially Mark Sylvester, James Cox, DeAndrew Green, E, and Paul Wilson. Thank you so much, and make sure to go ahead and check out my Patreon if you haven't already. Okay, what did you guys think about Longlegs? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just okay? I'm kind of feeling like on the scale of love it, hate it, just okay. I'm a little bit leaning more towards just okay, maybe a slight shift a little bit to love it, okay? Because again, it's one of those things where I feel like if I knew more things about it, then I would appreciate it a little bit more. It's something that kind of bugs me, and this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's just like a small thing that irritates me. I guess in an interview, which I found this out because I had to watch Longlegs explained videos, but I guess in an interview, the director said there's no reason that why the serial killer is called Longlegs. They just thought it was a cool name, and that bugs me. I wish there was more of a reason for it. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'm just someone that needs a reason for everything. I need all the answers. So thank you for coming along with me on this journey. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz, and as always, thanks for watching.